Good day, Cochise County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today is Friday, October 27th, 2023. Before we get started to go any further, I want to wish my wife a happy birthday. Today's her birthday, so just want to wish Gail a happy birthday. I love you. We've been married for 43 years, and I don't want to say what her age is because you're not supposed to. It's not polite to do that, but let's just say she's...
Plenty 9.
Yeah, there you go. Today, my special guest veteran interview is Mr. George Castle. Mr. Castle, thank you so much for coming
Nice
in
to
and
meet
sitting
you.
down with us
Thank
today,
you very
sir.
much.
It's my pleasure. We're coming to you live from the Warrior Healing Center here in Sierra Vista, Arizona, in the Rising Eagle Studios. So I want to again thank you so much for joining us today. The first question I like to always ask all of my veterans is, what was it that inspired you to join the military, and what branch did you join? And I see you're wearing an Air Force shirt, so we kind of already know what branch you joined, right? So what inspired you to join the Air Force?
Well, I was attending the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, where I grew up, and I had a deferment. And of course, the Vietnam War was ongoing.
Okay.
And because I was a college student, I had a deferment. And
what year was that?
This was in 1967, 68,
Okay.
69 timeframe. And they decided, the government, somebody, politicians, whatever, decided that it wasn't fair that people, who had money or could go to college or whatever, could get out of serving. And so they decided to have a draft lottery. And in 1969, they did this lottery, and they basically based it on the days of the year, and by your birthday. And so my birthday, September 7th, was the 6th number that came out of the hat. So the very next day, I made a beeline down to the Air Force ROTC shop at the University of New Mexico and says, I want to be a pilot.
So was it the fact that if you had been drafted, would they have then chose the branch that you would have went in, so this way you were able to choose what you wanted to do?
Well, yes, I'm pretty sure that when you get drafted, you basically go into the Army.
Okay, so the Army was the only one that did the draft then.
Well, I'm not exactly sure about
I think
that,
it is.
but I think that's correct.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had seen the Thunderbirds perform at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque in the beautiful F-4 Phantom, and thought, oh boy, that might be kind of neat to do something like that. But anyway, I was in college and wasn't really planning on going into the military. But when that draft lottery happened, I decided that I'll try the Air Force ROTC. And I tell you, everything worked out perfectly after that. There was hardly a glitch for me getting into the Air Force and into pilot training, and lucky enough to go after pilot training to go be selected to fly an F-4 Phantom, and it was awesome. I mean, I tell you what, it couldn't have worked out better.
So then, what was your MOS? And then you being wanting to be a pilot, that always just kind of spoke to you?
Yes, for sure. My dad took me flying.
Okay.
A couple of times. He wasn't a pilot, but he was a professor of chemistry at the University of Mexico, and he used to teach up in Los Alamos.
Okay.
From time to time, and he'd fly up there for his class.
Wow.
And so I got to go up there with him, probably as about an 8 or 9 year old, and thought that was fantastic. So yeah, I thought flying was really cool, really, and it really interested me. And
what is that MOS again?
Okay, so in the Air Force, it's called Air Force Specialty Code.
Specialty Code?
And
okay.
so I was a pilot, and I forget exactly what the numbers were.
Right.
It was a 4-digit number. And of course, bomber pilots, transport pilots, fighter pilots, they all have a little number after the letters. And so, or it's the other way around. A letter after the numbers, 111F or something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember. But anyway, so I was a pilot in the Air Force. Lucky me. And and I was at the right place at the right time, because at that time they were begging for guys to be pilots in the Air Force.
Right.
At the University of New Mexico, it was not popular to be in Air Force ROTC. As a matter of fact, we were discouraged to wear our uniforms around campus because there was so much animosity
Because
about
of the Vietnam
about
War.
the Vietnam
Yeah.
War, and oh, you're a
that
warmonger or
Yeah,
whatever,
that's
stuff like that,
horrible.
you know. So, but yeah, I was in the right place at the right time. They needed pilots, and they took a guy like me, and away I went.
Where was your training at?
Well, I went to summer camp, our Air Force ROTC summer camp, at an incredible place in California called Hamilton Air Force Base,
Okay.
up in the Bay there, San Francisco area, and it was just a wonderful 6 weeks in the summer up there. Beautiful weather, and I after it was over, I can say it was fun.
Tell me,
But
what
the-
was it like though when your first time behind the cockpit, when you actually got control of the airplane by yourself? That had to be kind of an exciting feeling, right?
Well, in the Air Force, they start you off in a thing called Flight Instruction Program, FIP.
Okay.
And so in Albuquerque, they actually enrolled me in a private pilot course at 7-Bar Flying Service out on the West Mesa of Albuquerque. And I was one of 5 of us in the ROTC that were going through this program. And so we learned how to fly a Cessna 150 and had a great time doing it. It was loads of fun. But then I got selected to go to Williams Air Force Base. All my buddies had to go to Texas, and they were kind of, you get to go to Arizona, oh, you lucky stiff, you know. So I went off to and trained at Williams Air Force Base, which is in the Phoenix area. And it was just a wonderful time. And I had a really good instructor in my T-37. I was actually his first student. He was a young lieutenant, had just become a FAPE, which is called a First Assignment Instructor Pilot. So I was his first student. And so when I soloed, not only did I get thrown in the solo tank, but so did he, because I was his first student. But yeah,
Wow.
handling the airplane for the first time, yeah, it was exciting. It was really, really neat. And then getting into the T-38, a little supersonic jet. Oh my goodness, that was. And of course, in the T-37, you're side by side. Not my cup of tea. But in the in the T-38, it's tandem. So the instructor pilot's behind you, and not sitting right next to you. And of course, you can see left and right, and it's a super airplane to fly. Just very responsive, nice and fast, and.
What was it like for you when you had first experienced your actual first G-force then, right? Because when you were flying Cessnas and stuff like that, you didn't hit that. When you were flying the jets, you did, right?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a big difference between flying a Cessna 150
Yeah.
at 1 or 2 or 2.5, 3 Gs, whatever. And then in the in the T-37, the T-38, you pull a few Gs when you do loops and so on and so forth. But then years later, I actually got into the F-16, which is capable of 9 Gs.
Wow.
And it has a flight control computer, and so you can't over G the airplane. The flight control system won't let you do that, and so you can pull with reckless abandon and put all kinds of Gs on your body, and it is it's interesting. I mean, as a matter of fact, there's been undoubtedly many people killed hitting the ground after inducing G-induced loss of consciousness,
Right.
by putting yourself to sleep. And of course, as soon as you do that, you relax the stick because you're not really in control. And in about 15 to 20, maybe 25 seconds, you're back to normal and you can fly. But if you're too close to the ground in that 15 seconds, not good.
Wow. If any of you are just now joining us, if you have any questions for Mr. Castle, I would encourage you to please put it down in the comments section. And if we see it right now, we'll be happy to answer it live. And if we're watching it after it's been posted online, we will be more than happy to answer your questions also in the comment section, because we do follow the comments and the feeds on the interviews. So I do encourage that, if you would, please. So how many years did you serve in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force for 21 years, 1972 to 1993.
And what was your rank when you retired?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel. Wow. So tell me, within that 21 years, right? What was your favorite duty station, and what made it your favorite assignment?
That's difficult to come up with a favorite because we liked them all. Of
Uh-huh.
course, I was married, and I had a little boy, our oldest son. When I went into Air Force ROTC, he was with us, and
Okay.
then we had three more around the world. One born in the Philippines, one born in England, and then one back in Florida,
Wow.
and for four kids. But we liked them all. But one real standout was probably in the UK at RAF Woodbridge when I was in the 78th Attack Fighter Squadron, the Bushmasters, and it was so much fun flying over there. We got to fly on the continent, plus all around the UK. In the I was flying the F-4 Phantom at the time, F-4D, and it was just a super fun assignment. I got to work with some really incredible people, and my squadron commander there was just an awesome guy who had had 3 tours in Southeast Asia, and was just a real inspiration to all of us.
When you were there, were you able to interact with the Royal Air Force Base as well, the Royal Air Force that they had there?
We did. We flew with them from
Uh-huh.
time to time and had some activities with them. We also one of the key things there. We also got to go to various places to do weapons training because the weather up in England was kind of crummy. So we'd go to either Zaragoza Air Base in Spain, or we would go to Aviano Air Base in Italy. Prior to my time over there, they used to go down to Huilas in Africa,
Oh, wow.
but that closed and was stopped a few years before I got over there into Europe. But we got to go to some incredible places when the weather was kind of crummy up in England, and fly and sharpen our skills in the airplane.
Uh-huh. What was the terrain and what was the area like there versus, I mean, you're here from the States, you go to a different country like that. What was that kind of experience for you?
Well, England is fairly flat, and the bases where the wing had actually two runways, one at Bentwaters and one at Woodbridge.
Okay.
And my squadron there were 2 squadrons at Bentwaters and 1 squadron at Woodbridge. Mine was at Woodbridge. We were actually sitting nuclear alert as well.
Oh, my.
And so we would have to go through that, which was very interesting. We had to certify to be able to do that. And so our airplanes, we had, I can't remember exactly how many, I think we had 6 or 7 or 8 airplanes on alert all the time, 24/7, 365.
Wow.
But the terrain, so back to that, we used to go up and fly in Scotland some, and there was some really beautiful terrain up there, the beautiful hills. I can remember going up, flying up right over Loch Ness early one morning probably in June.
Did you see Nellie?
We somehow I think we might have scared him because we were fairly low, zipping across
Right.
Loch Ness, and but around Bentwaters Woodbridge it was quite flat. A lot of farming communities, and interspersed with quite a few good-sized towns like Ipswich and Norwich and other places like that.
And what was the economy like there, and the food and the interaction with the people there in the UK?
It was terrific. The food was, well, I would say in the UK the food is probably in last place with everybody else on the continent. The French food, the German food, quite a bit better than the food in England. But we loved living there. The people were fantastic. Lots of good friends in the neighborhoods that we lived in. We always lived off bay. We never lived on base. We always lived out on the economy, and just enjoyed it so much. It was just a great place. The beaches were fun. It was always cold, and a lot of the beaches were called shingle beaches instead of sandy. They were rocky, but wonderful things to see, incredible historical things to visit, and see. Took our kids over to what's the name of it? The rocks over there on the other side. Can't think of the name.
Oh, I know what you're talking. You're not they had the up like
Yes,
it's
yes,
in a circle.
yes, exactly. For some reason
Yeah.
it popped out of my brain, but yes, the kids enjoyed that, and that was back in the day.
Stonehenge?
Stonehenge, yes. We could actually go and sit on the rocks back in those days.
Uh-huh.
I guess in the olden days, people didn't used to deface things and
Right.
took care of things, and so they let you come right up close to it. Now we've got too many people that are in our society that deface things, and so now there's a big chain link fence around everything, and people can't go and see
Yeah.
it close up and personal. Too bad.
Did you get to go see any of the castles or anything
Oh
over
yes,
there?
yes we did. We had one that was very close to us called Orford Castle, and it was
Okay.
just a big, beautiful, round building, very tall, and just an awesome place. And then of course we got to go to some of the castles that were incredibly beautiful and were very well furnished. Orford Castle was kind of not really a ruin, but it wasn't furnished and stuff like that.
And not everybody gets to go there. I mean, like myself, I've never been over there. I'm sure there are a lot of people that haven't been over there. So by your sharing that experience with you, it's really cool because it's another way to learn about some of the great history and some of the beautiful artifacts and just it's amazing in that area.
So we had two kids over there, two boys, our two sons, and then our third child, our daughter Sarah, was born at Heathrow Hospital in Ipswich,
Okay.
and that was quite an experience. Everything went well, but it was in the health system over there because my wife was too far along to be able to make it all the way up to Lakenheath to have the baby, and so we went to a British hospital, and that was eye-opening to find out exactly how things work there
Versus how they do here in our
versus
country.
how they work
Yeah.
in our country. Exactly.
What year was that? Just curious.
That was 1970. Let's see.
Yeah.
77.
Wow. Awesome.
December 77. So wintertime.
So share with us, if you would, please, what was one of a positive experience that you took away from your service in the military?
Well, I learned a great deal about working with other people
Okay.
on a team, and I learned a lot about leadership, and I think it's very important to get to know how to work with people and make things work in a group. And the Air Force was really good at that, especially in a fighter squadron. We were all I was never in combat. I was
Okay.
wedged in between the Vietnam War and the Gulf Wars, and about that time I was getting ready to leave the service. But I think learning how to be a part of a group and a leader is what really helped me in my life. And of course, the flying was phenomenal. But so we learned how to support each other in the air, but we also learned how to support each other and be a team on the ground as well.
The best leaders lead by example, and it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
Well, I would like to think so.
Yeah. Tell us, looking back on your military service, what is your fondest memory?
Well, I had many, but what probably stands out is my activities in a gunnery competition that happened back when I was in the Air Force every other year called Gunsmoke. So I was flying F-16s at the time at Hahn Air Base in Germany.
Okay.
Along the Mosel River, a beautiful, beautiful area. And I was flying very well, and they picked the cream of the crop out of the wing, all the wing pilots. They picked 6 of us. And then the 6 of us kind of had a competition within the 6 of us to see who would be the 4 primary pilots, and then the other 2 guys were spares. But 6 of us got to go to Gunsmoke. And Gunsmoke was the competition took place at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, near Las Vegas. We practiced for about 6 weeks prior to going over. We went to Turkey and practiced over there every day and learned. We flew the same airplane every day. So we were basically learning how to drop bombs for score and strafe for score. And we actually put together a good team. We crossed the Atlantic and took 6 airplanes over to Shaw Air Force Base, and then across the United States from Shaw, which is in South Carolina, over to Nellis. And we got to be refueled all the way across the United States. It was really a lot of fun. Of course, refueled across the Atlantic as well. But then we got to Nellis. Actually, we before going to Nellis, we went to Hill Air Force Base and practiced for another 2 weeks before we went to the actual competition at Nellis. And then we got there, and they treated us like kings. I'm telling you, it was just incredible. But we took part in the competition, and our team won Gunsmoke 1983.
Wow!
And so one of our pilots took second. I took fifth, and then the other 2 were sixth and seventh. So on second, fifth, sixth, and seventh, we were good enough to be the overall best team.
Wow.
And that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, we got to bring our airplanes back to Germany as kind of heroes from winning Gunsmoke. And it was just that. So that really stood out to me. The fun that we had doing that, and and you know, a lot of people say, oh, why does the Air Force spend so much money on something like Gunsmoke? A few pilots get so much more than everybody else, but everybody wanted to be on the Gunsmoke team, so everybody was trying to do their best, and so actually it's something that elevates the competition, elevates everyone as they compete in that.
So what advice would you give to anybody that's considering joining the military?
Well, I would take a look at the Air Force.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, all the service. So since I retired, I've been in Sierra Vista, and I've been working very closely with the Army until I retired from that. Good grief, it was back in 2008. So for 15 years, I trained soldiers how to fly the Hunter unmanned airplane up at Fort Huachuca, and I got very familiar with the Army aviation and so on and so forth. So I really enjoyed working with the Army as well. So all of the services are good. I mean, they all have pros and cons. I have a son who's in the Space Force, just made full.
Oh, you're kidding me. How cool.
Just made full colonel. And then I have a son-in-law who's in the Air Force and is stationed at Hickam Air Force Base in Florida and is a lieutenant colonel. And he's luckily right now flying the Gulfstream for the 65th Airlift Squadron at Hickam, plus being PACAF flying safety officer. So
I always joke that we have all of our services represented on the back here, except for the Coast Guard. We're still trying to track down an item to hang up here for the Coast Guard, and for the Space Force. And so I always jokingly say it would be so cool to have a helmet, like an astronaut helmet or something for Space Force. So now maybe you could hook us up with that, with your son.
I think we can probably find something to put on the wall back there.
For Space Force. That would be really great. I would love that.
We need a Space Force flag up there in front of the Warrior Healing Center, too.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what the Space Force personnel are called?
No.
Guardians.
Guardians.
Yeah.
Okay.
I asked my son when he was going from the Air Force to the Space Force if they were going to be called spacemen. And he said, no, we're not going to be called spacemen. But at that time, they didn't know exactly what they were going to call themselves. But they are now Guardians, Guardians of the Galaxy.
There's this series on Apple TV called For All Mankind. And it talks about stuff like, well, if JFK hadn't been assassinated and all this other stuff. But it took, like the space program especially is what it was focused on. And then Russia had people on the moon. We had people on the moon. And I know it's crazy, but still, I mean, it's just the fact that I love sci-fi. I love a lot of the NASA stuff, and so I'm really fascinated with the Space Force stuff. So yeah, that would be great if you were able to provide anything for us. We would definitely make sure to honor it and to hang it proudly.
Very good. So we'll make that happen.
Awesome. How did you end up living here in Cochise County?
Well, when I retired from the Air Force, I really wanted to be an airline pilot.
Where did you retire
I
from?
retired from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio,
Okay.
and I put in applications many places, but unfortunately the airlines were laying pilots off instead of hiring at the time. There were 600 and some pilots from American Airlines that were on furlough, and so nobody was hiring. So anyway, I found out about the program at Fort Huachuca called the Hunter UAV, unmanned airplane, that was run by TRW, and I put in an application there and got hired and moved to Sierra Vista. So now that was in 1994. December or January '94 is when I first got here, and I left my family in Ohio because my son Chris, the one that's the colonel in the Space Force, was a senior in high school. So we left them there so he could graduate.
Right.
Then they joined us in the summer, and we love Sierra Vista. I worked for TRW, then TRW became Northrop Grumman, and I did that for almost 15 years and just had a great time doing it. Actually, the only time I've really been in a war zone was when I was with the Hunter, and I got to go over to Skopje, Macedonia, and fly Hunter, help the Army fly Hunter there while we were involved in the Kosovo conflict.
Yeah.
And I actually had to run and jump in a bunker a couple of times because they had some intel that they might be firing some mortars towards us or some artillery from the mountains up around Kosovo. We were actually in Macedonia, but it was really interesting. Then I actually got to go also to Iraq to help set up an Army unit over there, flying the Hunter at Balad Air Base outside of Baghdad, Iraq.
Wow. Very cool.
But anyway, we love
Yeah.
Sierra Vista. There's incredible people here that we really enjoy. Lots of good friends, and I've also had a chance to volunteer for an organization called VICAP, Volunteer Interfaith Caregiver Program, and it's been very rewarding to help the older folks in Sierra Vista go to doctors and dentists and do some handyman work for them and help them shop for groceries and stuff like that.
That was my next question. What do you do for volunteer work? Or do you do any volunteer work here in the area? So you do VICAP.
I do. I volunteer for VICAP, have since 2008.
Okay. Wow.
And it's a terrific organization. It helps so many people, but the people that are doing the volunteering, it helps as well. It's really a great blessing in disguise for those who get a chance to do the volunteering.
So if you're a person that needs VICAP services, how would they go about obtaining them?
They contact VICAP, and there's a telephone number here. We have our offices at the Cochise College Downtown Center.
Okay.
And they will send the paperwork out to you immediately. You need to send it back because we need to register you as a what we call as a neighbor, because we want to know exactly who we're serving, and we also want to make sure that we match the right people up to the people that need the service. But it's a terrific program. We take people as far as Tucson for doctor's appointments, and
I also know that you take people like to church. I've seen VICAP vehicles where they've taken people like to church sometimes, and
very infrequently do we do that. We mainly try to keep it to doctors, dentists, and also we do a lot of grocery shopping for people. We take people and drop them off at the grocery store, then take them back home. We pick up lists from people, take them and do the shopping ourselves. And some people, we actually take them to the grocery store and walk around with them, which is not my favorite thing to do.
Right.
But I've been in the commissary with a 93-year-old gal who lives here in Sierra Vista, and she walked my legs off, I'm telling you. And of course, these ladies, they want to see exactly what they're getting. So they're reading every little label. It's driving somebody like me crazy.
I gotta say though, it is so nice to be able to go on the Safeway or the Fry's app and to be able to say, okay, this is all of the items I want, and then the employees there will do your shopping for you. Then you just pull up to pick up, and they bring it out, and they don't even charge for the service. It's amazing what they.
There's that is really good. That's for sure. But the vast majority of our neighbors are of the age but they don't know how to do that.
Right.
And they can't quite figure that out. And so you have to go back to the old school.
Yeah. And
and
some
now,
people just don't want anything like our age and older, that they just don't want to do anything with technology.
Right. And during COVID, things slowed down with VICAP tremendously because people didn't want to go out and they were afraid. But a few of us volunteers kept on going. And the main thing that we did during COVID was shop for them. We told most people, hey, if you need groceries, we come get the list and we shop for you. So there's not two of us in the grocery store. And so I knew where everything was in Walmart, let me tell you.
Well, Mr. Castle, I want to thank you so much for sitting down and sharing your story today. And if you have some more things that you'd like to share with us in the future, I'd love to have you back and let you tell us a little bit more about maybe what's going on with VICAP or maybe some other things that come along. I would love to have you come back maybe and talk a little bit more about some of your other, because you said that it was hard to pick a fond memory, so maybe you might want to share a couple other ones with us as well. So in the future, if you'd like, I'd love to have you back to be able to finish that story as well.
Well, I'd love to tell you about that, and one of the main things is how important me being in the Air Force was to my family.
Please share that.
It was an absolute. It was phenomenal for my kids. My kids got such an incredible education, roaming around the world, and it was awesome. And so it was just wonderful for my wife, myself, and my kids. And so if we come back, we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love that. Thank you so much.
All right.
If you can hang out with me for a couple of minutes here, I have a couple real quick announcements I need to read, and then we'll wrap it up for today. So some of the events that we have coming up here in the Cochise County area, we have Halloween coming up next Tuesday, October 31st. So here are some of the scary activities that are planned for veterans this weekend. There's a steak night and a karaoke that is planned at the American Legion Post 11 in Douglas, and that's going to take place on Friday, October 27th. Steak is from 4 to 6 p.m. There's special Halloween. They're doing karaoke or karaoke from 7 to midnight, and come dressed up, and prizes will be awarded. There's a Halloween party taking place at the American Legion Post 52 here in Sierra Vista, Arizona, on Saturday, October 28th. It starts at 6 p.m. and it goes until closing. There will be a DJ, DJ Chupacabra Mata. I interviewed Mata about a year or so ago. He's with the American Legion Riders. And there's also going to be a costume contest as well. So make sure to come out to the American Legion on Saturday night starting at 6 o'clock. There is a red, white, and blue costume contest at the American Legion Post 16 in Bisbee. That starts Saturday, October 28th at 6 p.m. and goes to 9 p.m. There's going to be food, music, contests, and fun. And last but not least, there's also going to be a Halloween costume party at American Legion Post 24 in Tombstone. Tuesday, October 31st, starts at 5 p.m. and karaoke is going to be by DJ Dante. So we've got all of the different areas. We had Bisbee and Douglas and Benson covered there. So we'd like to encourage you to please go out and check out those Halloween events. And one last thing before I get done, I want to let you know about something special going on tonight at Gunny's Barbecue. There's going to be a World Series. Game 1 starts tonight. Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. How about that? Being a Cubs fan myself, go Cubs go, but I mean, we live in Arizona, so you got to root for the Diamondbacks, right? I'd feel like a traitor if I didn't. So anyways, game 1 starts tonight, and what they're doing down at Gunny's is they're going to be serving burgers, angry dogs, tater tots, pulled brisket, pork, chicken nachos, ribs, and arroz con gandules. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. It's going to, not sure what the start time on that's going to be. It says to come on down and watch the game on their brand new 92-inch TV that they just put in. Oh, right here. Game time is at 5:03 p.m. Arizona time, and that's Gunny's Barbecue at 5043 Arizona Highway 92 in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And those are the announcements that I have for today and today's show. So everybody, I want to thank you for joining us. And I will be back here again next Friday with another veteran. Again, Mr. Castle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank you
the
for your
invite.
service.
Okay.
And God bless you and your family.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, everybody, and a great weekend. Bye-bye.